Hello, this is section 9.1. What statistics can you use to characterize and compare center and spread of data sets? Data is numerical values that we look at from situations, and we just want to see what measurements do we make to look at where the center of the data is, and what measurements do we make to look at how far spread out it is. The two most common you're probably familiar with is mean and median. Now you need to make sure and get in your notes, this X with the little line over it is a symbol for mean, also mu is. It looks like a U, but it's actually a Greek symbol, it's called mu. Anyway, the way that you get the mean, as you know, is you get the total, either add them up or multiply to get the total, and then once you have the total of all the data values, then you divide by the number of items there are. In the median, the abbreviation we use is MED. It's when you put the list in an ordered fashion, and then you just tick it off to find the center. That's the median. Okay? If there's two values in the middle, then you add them together and divide by 2. So, for the most part, we never use mean. If there's an outlier, I'll explain that in the next lesson. If there is an outlier, we use the median. The way that I remember how to do these, mean is mean to do. It's difficult. It takes a lot of work without a calculator. The median, I think of the freeway. You know, as you drive down the road on the freeway, there's this lane going this way, and this lane going that way, and there's this dirt patch in between. That's called the median. And the median's in the middle. So that's how I remember those. What is an outlier? I think of an outlaw. Remember in the old westerns, the old outlaw? He was just, man, you couldn't live with him. He was just ornery, and he lived out of there. He was an outlaw. He was outside of the law, outside of the towns. He's an outlier. Now, in math, just remember it's 1.5 times the IQR. You'll understand that better after tomorrow's lesson. Okay, what about mode? Mode is the most often occurring. I remember it by mode, most often occurring. It's usually popularity, not so much numerical. So we aren't looking at it much in this class. Okay, the range is greatest value minus the least value will equal the range. Versus the interquartile range, hopefully you've dealt with that. If you haven't, you'll have enough to get there with this. The IQR is your third quartile minus your first quartile. Let me explain quartiles just real quickly. If you have your list of data to find your median, here's your median, it's right in the middle. Or in this case, it ends up, these two are in the middle, so it add them together, divide by 2, or find the halfway between them, it ends up being 7.5. Now let me show you how you find your quartiles. All that you're doing is you're covering your median and finding the middle of the remaining data. The middle of this data is 9, cover your median. Middle of that data would be 13. This is your first quartile. Your median could be called the second quartile. It never is, but you could, because you've split it into 4 parts. There's 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, and the 4th part. So this is Q1, Q3. In this set of data, we cover the median, and we find the middle. The middle is in between these two. That's our quartile 1. Cover our median. The middle would be in between 10 and 11, 10.5. Okay, so to find our interquartile range, we would take Q3 minus Q1, so that would be IQR for that data would equal 4. The IQR for this data equals 7.5. So if you look at this, this is why we've developed IQR. On the range of these data, the range would be 14 for both of them. That doesn't tell us really that this data is a lot closer and this data is a lot more spread. But our IQR will tell us the spread of this one and the closeness of this one. The IQR being 4, because it's real close inside here. The IQR here being 7.5, because it's more spread out. That's why we've gone to an IQR, interquartile range, is to tell more about the spread. Okay, another measure of spread is standard deviation. Here's the symbol for it, the sigma x. Here's how we find standard deviation. You take your data, and you add it all up, divide by the number of items there are, you get the mean. Once you have the mean, you find the difference between this data value minus the mean. So it's a -9, a 0, -2, 7, and 4. Then you take that difference and you square it. You add all the squares, and then you take the square root of that, and that will give you your standard deviation. So, what is the mean before we square it? -9, -2, that would be -11, and right here is +11. So if we didn't square it, our negatives would wipe out our positives, and our mean would be 0. Okay, so why do we square it? So that we can find out how far it's off from the norm. So we square it to remove the negatives, so that we can see how far off are we, and then we square root it to remove the effect of squaring it in regards to the values. It's just that we've eliminated the negative by doing that. Okay? Why must it be true of the data set, or what must be true of the data set if the standard deviation is 0? If we ended up with all these being 0, what would it mean? Well, look at this one that is 0. It means that all of the data points would be equal to the mean. You would have an entire list of data that's all equal to the mean. That's what it would mean if your standard deviation was 0. Rarely would happen. Okay, all these numbers that characterize a data set, anytime we have a data set, they're creating measures of center and spread, and that's what we refer to as statistics. So when you tell people we're studying statistics in math, you're simply saying to them, we're studying how to find center and spread on data sets. In class, you'll be given long lists. Because you've watched this, I'll tell you, with those long lists, it's a little bit easier if you use a calculator. Let me show you this. When I give you a long list to figure out anything statistical, you can turn it on and then go to Stat, Edit. Just enter right there. And right here you can see L1. Go over and you just begin typing in your list. And it'll contain, just hit enter after each amount that you want to put in. Then the cool thing is I put in 2 different lists. I was looking at them. In fact, in class you'll be doing that. So you can go L1, then you can go over to L2 and you can start entering a list there. You can even go on to L3 if you want to just keep all your lists. So that's how you enter your data. Then you'll go, I usually go second, quit, bring it back to this blank screen. Then you're going to go Stat, Calc. So instead of edit, you're not entering your list anymore, you're wanting to calculate. See how it highlights 1 var stats? That's what I want you to hit first. Now, once you have that 1 var stats on the screen, then what I want you to do is just go to second 1, and that'll say it's going to do list 1. Now watch what happens. Press enter. It tells you the mean. It'll tell you the sum of the squares, and the standard deviation. Then watch as you scroll down the minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile. So you can take the third quartile minus the first quartile and get your IQR, because I don't believe that it gives it to you. It gives you the maximum X. So you can find your range, you can find your IQR with those values. But that is much quicker than going without the calculator. Okay? Now we want to go second quit. Clear, second quit. There we are. Back to this screen. Now I want you to go second off. It's just the on button. Okay? So feel free to grab a calculator and use it for stats. I'm probably not going to advertise that in class. That's a bonus of watching the film, and you can teach others how to do it. You can write down those directions in your notes. Thank you very much.